What is going on, New York Giant fans? Welcome back to another video. If you guys haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when the live stream pops for your jobs. Appreciate y'all coming back. Got to get the joke there if you're a Giants fan. Giants have hired Wink Martindale as the team's next defensive coordinator. I love the move. Obviously, he's coached some really good defenses in the past. I'm going to get into it. Resume, go over that. Then total yards per game, stats from his defenses in the past, and we'll go into really three things to look for in terms of the defenses he's coached in the past and what to expect in the future. So with that being said, let's go into it. So he is 58 years old, went to Defiance College. He was Defiance's defensive coordinator between 1986 and 1987, was an assistant at Notre Dame between 94 and 95, special teams and linebacker coach 96 to 98 at Cincinnati, Western Illinois defensive coordinator and linebacker coach 1999, 2000 to 2003 was a defensive coordinator and inside linebacker coach at Western Kentucky, then moved on up to the NFL in 2004 with the Oakland Raiders, had that position until 2008 as the linebackers coach, had the same position in a different team in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos in 2009. 2010, he gets promoted on the Denver Broncos as defensive coordinator for a year. That was the year Josh McDaniels was fired. Then takes a year off, 2012. 2017, he spends with the Ravens as the linebacker coach. 2018 2021 as defensive coordinator, and now the New York Giants defensive coordinator. So with that being said, let's go into his resume a little bit, and then we'll talk about some stuff at the end, what to expect with his defenses, really three main things. So in 2018, the Baltimore Ravens went 10-6 as a squad. I'm just going to pull up some extra stuff just in case to back up the facts and all that other stuff. So they went 10-6. Just overall defensive stats mixed in with analytics. First in total yards per game, fifth against the pass, fourth against the run, second in points per game, 17th in interceptions, 11th in sacks, first in blitz percentage, third in pressure percentage, 18th most missed tackles, second in turnover differential, and 22nd in turnovers. I meant to say 22nd in turnover differential. With that being said, the Pro Bowlers on the squad: Brandon Williams, C.J. Mosley, Eric Weddle. Interception leaders: Brandon Carr, Jimmy Smith, and Marlon Humphrey. Humphrey had a good year. Brandon Carr had a good year as well. And Jimmy Smith is Jimmy Smith. You know, he's an average, solid corner, really. With that being said, sack leader before he went to the Green Bay Packers: Zadarius Smith, 8.5 sacks, 35 pressures, 25 quarterback hits. Then Matt Judon and Terrell Suggs piled behind him, both at 7. And Terrell Suggs had 37 pressures. Judon had 36. Both played in 16 games. Terrell Suggs got more starts. With that being said, they did lose in the wild card round, or the divisional round, to the Chargers. They lost in the wild card rounds. With that being said, you move to 2019. They go 14-2. First round elimination in the playoffs to the Tennessee Titans. Fourth in total yards per game. Sixth against the pass. Fifth against the run. Third in points per game. 12th in interceptions. 21st in sacks. First in blitz percentage. 15th in pressure percentage. 28th in missed tackles. 6th in turnover differential. And 7th in turnovers. The Pro Bowlers: Earl Thomas was one of them. 6 quarterback hits. 2 tackles for a loss. 2 sacks. Overall, 6 pressures, 49 tackles total. In coverage, he had 2 interceptions, 11 completions allowed on 25 targets, 44% completion, 113 yards, and a 24.2 passer rating, which is really good. Marlon Humphrey was a Pro Bowler as well. With that being said, he allowed 51 completions on 88 targets, 58 completion percentage, 3 touchdowns allowed, 68.4 passer rating. Matt Judon also in there as well. 33 quarterback hits, a total of, hold on, let me just pull it up here because I made a mistake in my document that I forgot to fix, but you know, that's the life. That's the mistakes you make sometimes. But with that being said, going back to 2019, he had 9.5 sacks, 31 pressures, 54 total tackles, and also he played in 16 games. Marcus Peters also was a Pro Bowler that season. They traded for him from the Los Angeles Rams. So overall, in combined, he allowed a completion percentage of 55.6, 597 yards, 5 touchdowns. He also had 5 interceptions and 71.4 passer rating, 53 total tackles. And that is pretty much it in terms of 2019, if I'm not missing anything. 2020, so they take a little bit of a dip in terms of record. I just want to go to it real quickly. So 2020, they do draft Patrick Queen. They go 11-5 in terms of Pro Bowlers. They had two, actually three: Calais Campbell, Marlon Humphrey, and Matt Judon. Judon the year before he goes to New England. But with that being said, defense 7th in total yards per game, 6th against the pass, 8th against the run, 2nd in points per game, 28th in interceptions, 14th in sacks, 1st in blitz percentage, 4th in pressure percentage, 2nd in missed tackles, 12th in turnover differential, and 17th in turnovers. Marlon Humphrey allowed a completion percentage of 61.3, 84.3 passer rating. He also had an interception, 651 yards in total, gave up 3 touchdowns. Matt Judon, sack leader, and it honestly showed a little bit. I mean, I think they traded for Yannick Ngakoue midway through the season after he was with the Vikings for a little bit, but I guess he wasn't totally their sack leader. With that being said, 6 sacks total for Matt Judon, 21 quarterback hits, 32 pressures, 50 tackles total, and played in 14 games. You also take a look at Calais Campbell. He had 10 quarterback hits, 4 sacks, 13 pressures, 12 games. And then interception leader Marcus Peters. He had a total of 4 interceptions, gave up a completion percentage of 64, 3 touchdowns, 78 passer rating, 1 sack, 52 total tackles, and a total of 14 games. So now you take a look and go to 2021, which was obviously the down year for the Baltimore defense. No Pro Bowlers whatsoever, so obviously not the greatest thing in the world. With that being said, 25th in total yards per game, 32nd against the pass, 1st against the run, 19th in points per game, 28th in interceptions, 23rd in sacks, 6th in blitz percentage, 24th in pressure percentage, 13th in missed tackles, 28th in turnover differential, 30th in turnovers. Leading sacker, it was Tyus Bowser. He had 7 sacks, 26 pressures, 59 total tackles in 17 games. Their leading interceptor was Anthony Averett. He did have 3 interceptions, gave up a completion percentage of 55.4 in coverage, 768 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 77.5 passer rating. So he did play, I would say, well among the corners that actually stayed healthy, 54 total tackles as well. So let's talk about 3 things you can totally expect with this scheme. Defensive coordinator Don Martindale, what is he about? So let's go over 3 things real quickly. Lots of blitzing. Obviously, lots of blitzing. That's one thing you definitely have to expect with Don Martindale. That's really the first thing that comes to mind is blitz, 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 right? So just going to go over a couple of stats right off of the bat. In terms of blitz percentage, they were top of the NFL the last few years. They were 6th in 2021, and I could kind of see why, because some of the personnel that was left on the roster after the injuries and the COVID and all that stuff, because Marlon Humphrey went on IR, Marcus Peters was one of the guys that went on IR. So a lot of those guys, a lot of the depth guys, were not good enough to fit what Martindale wanted to do in terms of blitzing the shit out of the quarterback. The secondary wasn't Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. It was a bunch of backup guys, so he had to adapt a little bit. Obviously, it didn't do great because they were 32nd against the pass, and they just didn't have a good year overall. Obviously, there was some games where they really could have won with John Harbaugh's decision-making on the 2-point conversions. So, with that being said, in terms of, let's see, blitz percentage. Take a look at it. I did post a tweet about it earlier. I'm going to pull it up right now. Okay, so 2018, in terms of blitz percentage, they were first. They were 3rd in pressure percentage, and then 11th in sacks. 2019, 1st in blitz percentage, 15th in pressure percentage, 21st in sacks. 2020, 44.9, that's 1st in blitz percentage, 4th in pressure percentage, 14th in sacks. And you take a look at 2021, 6th in blitz percentage, 24th in pressure percentage, 23rd in sacks. So with Don Martindale, you're not going to get a lot of sacks, all right? You're not going to get top 10 sack numbers like you would Vic Fangio, Jim Schwartz, some of these other guys. You're not going to get top 10 sack numbers. You're just not. You may have key pass rushers and you may sign Chandler Jones or whoever in his system to fit the system. But with that being said, you're not going to get in the top 10 in sacks. You'll get there with pressure percentage. And I don't think Don Martindale's philosophy is built on, oh, just sacking the quarterback, because there are loopholes with those different stats. You could have top 10 in sacks, but also your pressure percentage could suck. So you could really rely on just one pass rusher. But with that being said, I think Don Martindale's philosophy is, okay, obviously, I'll talk about it in just a second, which is part 2 of this conversation. But let's pressure the shit out of the quarterback. Let's blitz the shit out of the quarterback. That way he makes a stupid mistake. If it's a turnover, it's a turnover, but let's help our offense out. So that's why I really think that Martindale fits what the Giants want to do, what Dable wants to do, just overall as a team, a philosophy. And this one goes along with it as well. You obviously have the front, you have the back now, building through the secondary. The Giants have built through the secondary the last few seasons. They added Rodarius Williams and Aaron Robinson and Adoree Jackson in the offseason last year. Well, really this year, but last year. Let's just say last year for talking purposes. The year before that, they had Darnay Holmes and James Bradbury. So they had more emphasis on the back end rather than the front end. They signed Kyler Fackrell. They drafted Azeez Ojulari, who is a very good fit for the system, at least in my opinion. That's me. But working, obviously, both parts have to work. With that being said, it's not just, okay, let's play anything on blitzes. No, he is very strict in terms of man-to-man coverage, tight man-to-man coverage. So what you could see is possibly Aaron Robinson staying. You could have Adoree Jackson stay, maybe Darnay Holmes. But James Bradbury, he may go. Obviously, the contract does not benefit him and what the Giants want to do moving forward. He's got no ties to Joe Schoen. $12 million you can save, and I think the Giants will actually take that out, whether it's trading him for picks or a player, or they're just going to release him into free agency, and then they'll pick up somebody either from the Ravens, or they'll just go ahead and draft a cornerback, maybe later rounds. I'm not really for drafting a cornerback within the first 3 rounds because the O-line is definitely a necessity in this draft with tackles, very top heavy, and then the guards, I think there's a little bit more depth there. But in terms of blitzing, obviously you got that. You got the secondary. Giants have been building through the secondary, not necessarily in the most proper of ways, and it didn't really work out for Patrick Graham in ways because, well, James Bradbury is more of a zone corner despite his physicality shown in 2020. Adoree Jackson signed. They wanted to play more man coverage. Didn't work because the pass rush wasn't good. So now that you have Martindale, now that you could build some pieces on that defensive line and work in the trenches, and the trenches we'll talk about next, you have Azeez Ojulari, you have Quincy Roche. He can get the most out of those players. Really, in his tenure, that defense was not talented at every position. There were some spots on the defensive line. Matt Judon was really the top pass rusher besides Yannick Ngakoue in 1 year. It was really half a year. But besides Matt Judon and Yannick Ngakoue, there really were no talented pass rushers, at least that I could think of. Obviously, first 2 years or first really year of Terrell Suggs in Martindale's defense. And then he went to Kansas City. He went to the Cardinals. But it just wasn't totally talented there. That's where he got the pressure percentage out. Obviously, once again, not totally top 10 in sack numbers, but pressure percentage and blitz percentage scaring the shit out of the quarterback. And that's what he does best. So, there's also number 3. He is great against the run. His defenses are great against the run. And that is a thing the Giants really need to fix. And there's a lot of key pieces that go into this. Danny Shelton, he was being pancaked by double teams this season in the running game. He would just get bulldozed, 350 pounds of shit right there. Sorry, that's the way he played. I'm not going to be sugarcoating it. As G Nation, also known as Lou, says, he was Denny's because it was something about pancakes. He'll tell you about it, but shout outs to Lou. He's an awesome Giants content creator, the Big Blue Crew, good friends with them. With that being said, every year, despite whether the passing defense was good, the passing defense was bad, his defenses were always fucking good against the run. They were always top 10. Let me go into it real quickly. So you look at 2018, they were 4th against the run. You take a look at 2019, they were 5th against the run. They were 8th against the run in 2020, and they were 1st when their passing defense was 32nd in the league this past year. They were first against the run. So that tells me something about Don Martindale. I thought their defensive linemen were very good in terms of stopping the run. Brandon Williams, Justin Matabuki, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Calais Campbell was obviously there for a year. There's a couple other defensive linemen they had, but he got the most out of them compared to the Giants, where, yeah, Leonard Williams played okay. Dalvin Tomlinson was really missing, and Austin Johnson played okay, but Danny Shelton was just pure garbage in the running game, was supposed to be a cheap replacement. And then you also have the second part of that, which is the linebackers. CJ Mosley, he was there for the first year of Martindale's defense in 2018, moves on to the Jets. I don't think they really had a consistent inside linebacker in 2019, despite the success of the defense and them going 14-2. With that being said, in 2020, they drafted Patrick Queen. He's still with the team now. Pro Football Focus really grades him low. I don't know what the status is on him. I'm going to have to check with a couple of Ravens content creators to see if that's actually accurate. But definitely in terms of the run defense, overall, you do need a couple of good linebackers. And that was what was really wrong, in my opinion, at least, with the Giants' run defense, beside missing Tomlinson, beside missing a couple other guys, and just not having that same production as 2020. But also the linebackers, right? Like Martinez, even though he really didn't start the year on a great note. With that being said, he got injured. Tate Crowder was the starter. Reggie Ragland wasn't really good. Then they got Benedict McKinney in there, who I thought played decent. Jalen Smith played decently in terms of just being an overall linebacker, at least in my opinion. You know, I don't know shit about football compared to the other guys who have played football. I have never, and I've stated this before, I've never played football professionally. But with that being said, this opens the door for the New York Giants to draft a couple of defensive players in this draft, where a lot of people think, oh, well, they're going to go offensive heavy. They may go defensive heavy in some cases and some points in the draft, where at 7, you're not really considering, with Patrick Graham, a linebacker, or Kyle Hamilton. Well, now that opens the door to Nakobe Dean, if you like him at 7. If the Giants like him at 7, that opens the door to Devin Lloyd out of Utah at 7. And that opens the door to Kyle Hamilton at 5. So there is a lot of possibilities there. And Kyle Hamilton, I've told people this. Obviously, a lot of people disagree. He is more than a safety. He is more than a safety, and I think he would be valuable at 5 or 7. But we'll see what happens. It's a trust the process thing. Overall, I'm very excited to have Don Martindale here. Yes, the sack numbers aren't great. He's good against the run. He builds through the secondary. He needs those man cornerbacks, Aaron Robinson, Darnay Holmes, Adoree Jackson, whoever else on the roster can benefit from man coverage. And once again, he'll need a little upgrade in terms of the trenches and really the outside linebacker room, but it's not much like you would need for Vic Fangio, where if we had the same defense, in my opinion, with Vic Fangio, it wouldn't be as successful because he would need a little more talent rather than Don Martindale, who gets more out of the players, at least in my opinion. Vic Fangio also is very different because he's very laid back, but is top 10 in sacks and pressure percentage and all that other stuff. So please like the video, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when live stream pops to your drops. Appreciate y'all coming back. Obviously, there are some finagling with guests in terms of Boys in the Big Apple. Bobby Skinner, I know, is coming on for a Senior Bowl discussion. We're also going to talk head coaching vacancies and how that has filled up. I know She Got Sports is possibly coming on. Lauren, if you guys know her. We might have our buddy Donald Stewart on in between segments to discuss the NBA trade deadline and some of the MLB stuff with the steroid testing being halted. Please check out that video. I kind of did a rant on it. And then I know a Rams content creator is definitely coming on for the Super Bowl kind of preview. That's going to be around 9:20, 9:30 on the Boys of Big Apple podcast. So please check that out. Check out NYY News TV, Twin Bill Podcast, all those other podcasts. Great people. Ozzie Guillen, former MLB manager, also does a podcast with his sons. It's very interesting. Peace out, guys. See you later. Stay cool and go Giants. And actually, let's trust the process.